Well, nothing's messier than Donald Trump. I mean, that's a hot mess situation. That's hotmess.com. I mean, we could never, we're going to move backwards. That's not an option in this day and age. You only can move forward. It's a different world. You can't reform in the way that he's talking about. Or
sadly, there is no footage of Trump grabbing the wheel, but I imagine it would look something like this. Melania also has to wipe things off the wall after their annual Mar-a-Lago penetration. And, and that was it. That was the last time I saw him.
Chelsea Handler didn't just criticize Donald Trump, she took him down with two simple words: hot mess. Those words hit harder than anything Trump could have expected, leaving his face as red as his "Make America Great Again" hat. But that was just the beginning. Handler also took aim at Trump's qualifications for the presidency, especially his background in reality TV. In this breakdown, we'll explore how Handler used her comedy to deliver sharp critiques on women's rights and the importance of voter education. Handler's reaction to Trump's antics shows that he can throw insults with ease, but he certainly can't handle being criticized in return. Stick around to hear both the laughs and the tough political truths. When Handler showed up at the 2016 Democratic National Convention, she was cool and calm, but she came ready to throw some punches. While other celebrities were dancing around the topic of Trump, afraid of stepping on toes, Handler didn't hold back. She immediately called out his chaotic campaign with two words: hot mess. That simple comment captured everything about Trump's campaign: his unpredictability, his inconsistency, and the drama that seemed to follow him wherever he went. Handler's words weren't just an insult, they were a spot-on description of the political situation at the time. And the way she said it made it even more powerful, casual and straightforward, as if she was stating something obvious, like, the sky is blue, or water is wet.
Messier than Donald Trump. I mean, that's a hot mess situation. That's hotmess.com. I mean, we could never, we're going to move backwards.
Oh, I mean, he can't possibly really be trying to be elected to become president. That doesn't make any sense. After Barack Obama?
That's not an option in this day and age. You only can move forward. It's a different world. You can't reform in the way that he's talking about.
When Chelsea Handler called Donald Trump a hot mess, it wasn't just her opinion, it was a statement of fact that everyone could agree on. The power of Handler's jab came from its simplicity. She didn't need to list all of Trump's scandals or highlight his lack of policy knowledge. She didn't have to dissect his unpreparedness for the presidency. The phrase "hot mess" did all the work, instantly painting Trump as a disorganized, chaotic candidate unfit for the role of president. Trump's team reportedly scrambled to respond, but they were in a tough spot. How do you defend yourself from being called a hot mess without making yourself look even worse? Any angry response would only confirm Handler's point, and any attempt to deny it would sound absurd. They were stuck in a comedy trap with no easy way out. What made Handler's criticism so powerful was how she used humor to draw attention to a serious issue: Trump's qualifications for the presidency. Through a simple, sharp remark, she managed to highlight the flaws in his candidacy in a way that was both entertaining and deeply revealing.
Allowing this man to get in the White House, then we're moving backwards, and that, you just have to get that message across.
He just loves attention, and he likes to talk about himself. I think he's like, whoa.
Rethink that. I need a leader, I need somebody who's competent and capable, and I want somebody who's not going to go to war with.
But that was just the beginning. The hot mess comment was merely Handler's opening shot in a much larger critique of Donald Trump and everything he stood for. What made her two-word burn so memorable was how it perfectly captured what many voters were already thinking, but what political figures, bound by traditional politeness, weren't saying out loud. Handler boldly asked, what happens when a reality TV host thinks the Oval Office is just another set? For Handler, this wasn't just a joke, it was the core of her biting critique. While other celebrities hesitated to challenge Trump's qualifications directly, Handler went straight for the heart of the issue, exposing the absurdity of the situation in 2016. Are we really going to elect a guy whose biggest qualification is telling celebrities, "You're fired," on NBC? She asked, cutting through the noise with razor-sharp precision. Her question wasn't just funny, it was a wake-up call. We were facing global crises, rising international tensions, and economic challenges, yet somehow, people were considering a man whose greatest achievement was starring on a reality TV show. Handler's brutal comparison of Trump to the Kardashians hit hard, making it clear just how ridiculous the whole situation had become.
I'm going to choose the person that's actually worked in politics for the last 30 years, not a hotelier.
I don't think he thought it was going to go this far. Like, I don't think he was ready to really take the job.
It probably is a dead heat because I think a lot of people are uninformed or ill-informed and really.
Chelsea Handler didn't just point out the absurdity of Trump's campaign, she exposed the dangerous fantasy he had sold to America. Trump made people believe that running a country was like producing a reality TV show, where problems could be solved in neat 60-minute episodes with commercial breaks. Handler highlighted how Trump managed to convince voters that his celebrity status mattered more than Hillary Clinton's decades of political experience. It was as if choosing a president had become as simple as picking who to follow on Instagram. Her critique revealed a troubling shift in American politics. Entertainment value was starting to outweigh real qualifications for the most important job in the world. While political analysts were bogged down in policy debates, Handler cut straight to the heart of the matter. We were on the verge of giving the nuclear football to a man whose biggest achievement was getting high TV ratings. But Handler wasn't done. As the conversation shifted to women's rights, she dropped the jokes and turned serious. What made a professional comedian set aside her humor? It was the true stakes she saw in the 2016 election. Handler knew the fight for women's rights was on the line. Women aren't going to get their rights taken away from them, she declared, her voice full of conviction. Every woman who's 18 has the right to vote, and every minority has the right to vote. The intensity in her tone made it clear this wasn't just another comedy bit. Handler's transformation was striking. She had built her career on sharp humor, but now, there was no smirk, no sarcasm, just fierce determination. She wasn't just throwing shade at Trump, she was sounding the alarm about what his presidency could mean for women's rights. Handler's words weren't just about cracking jokes, they were about a very real fear that the progress women had fought for could be erased. Her activism went beyond just talking. Handler revealed her work with Rock the Vote, a campaign she launched to mobilize young women to vote. For her, it wasn't just about stopping Trump, it was about empowering women to protect their rights at the ballot box. Her message was clear: voting rights were not just something to take for granted, they were part of an ongoing struggle.
He's like a reactionary. It's not, you can only move forward. Women aren't going to get their rights taken away from them. A woman who's at the age of 18 to exercise her right to vote. Every minority has the right to vote. And
Chelsea Handler made a chilling connection between Trump's candidacy and women's rights, presenting a disturbing view of what his presidency could mean. In her eyes, a Trump presidency wouldn't just bring embarrassing tweets or diplomatic disasters, it would represent a dangerous step backward in the fight for gender equality. Her message was clear: this election wasn't just about political parties, it was about whether America would advance or retreat when it came to fundamental rights. As Handler spoke, her usual fast-paced delivery slowed down, letting each point resonate more powerfully. This wasn't a comedian telling jokes, it was an advocate sounding an urgent alarm. The sense of urgency in her voice conveyed something that statistics and policy papers often struggle to express: the human cost of what she saw as Trump's regressive agenda. Handler wasn't just pulling punches, she had thrown them out the window entirely. After warning about the threats to women's rights, Handler went even further with a bold statement about Trump supporters, something most celebrities wouldn't dare say, let alone in public. When asked why Trump was doing well in the polls despite his clear lack of qualifications, Handler didn't offer a polite, political answer. Instead, she went straight for the throat, bluntly calling many voters uninformed, ill-informed, and really stupid. Ouch. You could almost hear publicists across the country collectively gasping. In Hollywood, there's an unspoken rule: you can criticize politicians all you want, but you don't go after the voters. Handler didn't just break that rule, she bulldozed right through it. Her willingness to speak this harsh truth made her comments even more powerful. She wasn't holding back, and it made her voice stand out even more in a time when many were afraid to speak plainly.
trust Donald Trump? I mean, people need to really ask themselves, you're saying they don't trust Hillary Clinton. That doesn't necessarily mean they trust Donald Trump.
And, and that was it. That was the last time I saw him.
You can't trust that guy. I mean, he's not a regular person. He doesn't know what's going on in middle.
Chelsea Handler knew her comments might cost her half her audience, but she clearly didn't mind. Her frustration wasn't just aimed at Donald Trump, it was aimed at a democracy where entertainment value had started to overshadow real qualifications. Her point was simple yet striking: choosing leaders based on TV appeal was like picking the next surgeon simply because they have "doctor" in their name and star in popular commercials. What made Handler's brutal honesty so powerful was that she wasn't afraid to call out the elephant in the room. the reality that democracy works only if voters are well informed. When people cast their ballots based on who made them laugh on TV instead of who understands foreign policy, she argued, we're essentially playing Russian roulette with nuclear codes. Handler suggested voters should do their homework before handing power over to someone who could push the button. She exposed a harsh truth: while democracy's greatest strength is giving power to the people, it's also its biggest weakness if those people aren't asking the right questions. Handler urged voters to examine their trust in candidates, especially when the person they support has little more to show than a reality TV background. It's like hiring a plumber because you like their stand-up comedy routine, entertaining, sure, but not exactly the best choice when your basement is flooding.
It's even more of a bag than we originally thought. He's dangerous. Like it was a little dangerous. I mean, I wasn't charmed, but I thought, oh, he's not so bad. That was when grabbing the steering wheel didn't work. He grabbed the car by the...
For many viewers, Chelsea Handler's candid take on the political landscape was a breath of fresh air, especially in an environment where celebrities usually stick to safe, rehearsed statements. Some may have found her remarks elitist, but Handler wasn't interested in winning any popularity contests. She was deeply concerned about the dangerous gap between informed voting and voting based on who delivers the best TV performance. After all, it's one thing when bad voting leads to a terrible American Idol winner, but it's another entirely when it decides who controls the world's largest military. Handler didn't just notice a few stylistic differences between the political conventions, she saw a dramatic clash of worldviews that left her feeling emotionally whiplashed. The Republican convention, in her eyes, was a chaotic mess, almost like a bad reality TV marathon, awkward, disorganized, and painfully uncomfortable. She called it a fiasco, comparing it to a party where the host desperately tries to convince everyone they're having fun, even when it's clearly falling apart. Then came the total mood swing, the Democratic convention. Handler described it as nothing short of amazing. She was practically floating on a political cloud. It was invigorating, a word she typically reserved for a relaxing spa day, not a political event. Handler wasn't just mildly pleased, she was pumped up, even coining the term post-positive to describe her overwhelming enthusiasm. It was like going from watching a dumpster fire to witnessing a political awakening. And when Obama spoke, Handler was moved, calling his speech the embodiment of hope and goodwill, a moment so inspirational it practically transcended politics. Handler wasn't just watching a speech, she was experiencing something deeply emotional and uplifting, a stark contrast to the fiasco she had just witnessed days before.
Trump sat back down and patiently waited for his car to arrive at the White House. Just kidding. Of course that's not what he did. And I remember going, oh, you're not nearly as disgusting as I thought you were. Sadly, there is no footage of Trump grabbing the wheel, but I imagine it would look something like this.
For Handler, it wasn't just Obama's words that moved her, it was the entire atmosphere of service-oriented politics, which stood in sharp contrast to Trump's self-centered approach. She saw two fundamentally different motivations at play. One side entered politics to help others, while the other was in it for personal gain. The stark contrast between the two conventions highlighted the heart of Handler's critique. It wasn't just about personalities or policies, it was about competing visions for America's future. One vision was chaotic, dark, and disordered, while the other offered hope, structure, and positivity. Handler wasn't shy about which side she favored. She believed so strongly in the Democratic vision that she predicted Trump's campaign would soon be nothing more than a bizarre footnote in American history. In 6 months, people will be saying, "That was so funny when Donald Trump ran." She optimistically forecasted. What made Handler's comparison between the two conventions so effective wasn't just her clear preference for one over the other. It was how she tied the atmosphere of each event to the leadership styles of the candidates. The chaotic, reality show-like Republican convention mirrored Trump's erratic, unpredictable approach to leadership. Meanwhile, the organized, hopeful Democratic event reflected the kind of stable, structured governance Handler believed America needed. In the midst of it all, Handler shared a quick, personal story about meeting Trump at a restaurant in Los Angeles. "I forget what the name of the restaurant was," she admitted, "probably because I was drinking that night." Her casual, almost humorous tone underscored her broader point. Trump's leadership style felt just as haphazard and disorienting as the random memory of their meeting.
Who has to wipe things off the wall after their annual Mar-a-Lago penetration? I met him once. He came up to me at a restaurant in Los Angeles. I forget what the name of the restaurant was, probably because I was drinking that night. And and if you think the ketchup story is a bit off, Trump apparently did stuff like this all the time. Came up to me, and I remember he goes, "I'd like to introduce myself." This was like 6 or 7 years ago. And he goes, "I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Donald." And he's very